So,
by the way, over the weekend, a literal Holocaust survivor, okay, went on Fareed Zakaria's show and called what Israel is doing in Gaza a genocide.
Yeah, I guarantee you.
Is he a Hamas supporter? Bill Maher, you want to call the Holocaust survivor a Hamas supporter?
Don't encourage him. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
Jesus.
Okay, Bill Maher is disgusting.
Bill Maher's self-righteous embrace of media elitism has made him one of the most divisive figures in American discourse today. His hypocrisy knows no bounds. While he often talks about tolerance and openness, he routinely belittles progressive movements and younger generations, dismissing their ideals as stupid without any real engagement. In this video, Maher not only exposes his bigotry, but doubles down, framing his criticism of Palestinian support and campus protests as somehow noble, while ignoring his own blind spots and biases. Maher's twisted logic paints him as the ultimate gatekeeper of accepted thought, fostering a narrative that not only demonizes those on the left, but also reveals his deep contempt for change he cannot control. It's time to ask ourselves whether Maher's views represent the wisdom or the old dogma of a man increasingly out of touch with a world that is growing beyond him. Here's a heated debate on type between Bill Maher and Kasparian, Cenk Uygur. Let's watch this interesting video.
We find ourselves in this situation where both sides are literally siding with enemies of America rather than the opposition party within the country. Fox News literally uses Russian talking points. I mean, Tucker Carlson went over there and did the whole dog and pony show, backing up Putin, basically. And on the left, you see them marching for Hamas, a terrorist organization. This is a terrible place to be, and it can happen here.
In the clip above, we can see Bill Maher emphasize his belief that political extremism on both sides of the US spectrum undermines national unity by aligning with opposing interests. He criticizes the US right wing for its perceived tolerance or support for Russia, especially figures like Tucker Carlson, who are accused of promoting narratives that appear sympathetic to Russia's agenda. Conversely, he criticizes the left wing, especially the campus protest movement, for appearing to support or sympathize with Hamas, which Maher sees as aligned with a foreign entity that opposes us values. He frames this dual alignment with opposing entities as a significant threat to us unity, implying that political divisions have reached a point where ideology can take precedence over the common good of the country. This view holds that both extremes, through their rhetoric and alliances, risk destabilizing domestic cohesion by introducing foreign conflicts and ideologies into the American political arena.
That was Bill Maher speaking to Fareed Zakaria on CNN and equating the right-wing support of Vladimir Putin to left-wing, pro-peace, pro-Palestinian protesters on college campuses who we recently learned are heavily funded by a Jewish family, by the way.
This seems to have made Kasparian uncomfortable, and things have escalated from there.
But during this interview, Bill Maher also attempted and failed to prove that he isn't a massive hypocrite for smearing these student protesters. Let's take a look.
I heard a couple of people say, or maybe they wrote it online, that, well, I'm a hypocrite because you were for the demonstrators in 1968 or whatever it was when they were demonstrating against the Vietnam War. Yeah, that was very different. First of all, the students weren't against their own. These students were threatening other students. That didn't happen in the Vietnam War. And being against the Vietnam War made sense. It was a war that we probably should not have been in.
But let me ask you.
This is demonstrating and protesting for a terrorist group.
But no, you can't protest what Israel is doing. That, by definition, according to Bill Maher, means that you support Hamas.
Yeah.
Complete lie, by the way.
The Young Turks respond sharply to Bill Maher's stance, accusing him of hypocrisy and potentially Islamophobic undertones. They argue that Maher's opposition to pro-Palestinian protests unfairly paints these movements as sympathizers with terrorism, rather than as advocates for peace or Palestinian rights. This framing, according to the Young Turks, reveals Maher's bias, as he tends to portray support for Palestinian causes as inherently tied to extremism, which they see as a problematic and oversimplified view. Their critique implies that Maher's stance dismisses the complexities of the Israel-Palestine conflict and fuels negative stereotypes against Muslims, thus failing to acknowledge the broader intentions behind these protests.
He hates Muslims so much, he can't contain himself. So no, the Vietnam War protests were just like this one's. He's like, well, that was for a good cause, like Vietnam was the wrong war.
But I agreed with that cause.
Yeah. So,
by the way, over the weekend, a literal Holocaust survivor, went on Fareed Zakaria's show and called what Israel is doing in Gaza a genocide.
Yeah, I guarantee you,
Is he a Hamas supporter? Bill Maher, you want to call the Holocaust survivor a Hamas supporter?
Don't encourage him. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
Jesus.
Okay.
It seems that Bill Maher is losing in this debate, as he has exposed too many weaknesses for the tight host to exploit. Before continuing the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to watch other interesting videos coming soon.
You could F all the way off Bill Maher. You're one of the worst people in American media. And the funny thing is that smug prick thinks he's such a radical and a revolutionary. I'm gonna say it even though people don't want me to say it. Israel is right. Oh, you idiot. Everyone on TV says that. You're saying the most standard trite propaganda of all time.
So there were other parts of the interview worth getting into. For instance, Maher responded to accusations that he himself has changed, making him not so friendly to the left or the Democratic Party. Let's hear what he had to say about that.
People who say to me, and there are many who say, I loved Bill Maher, but he has matured too much. He's become cranky. He's become crotchety. He's become one of those old guys who says,
really?
The kids are crazy, it was better in my day. What do you say to them?
They're wrong. I mean, they're wrong and the kids are crazy. It's interesting, they have this idea, the younger generation, maybe every generation does, that just because something is new makes it better. And that's not true. New is not synonymous with better.
But you're sounding like an old-fashioned conservative.
Okay.
He says, this is all cancel culture and I'm against cancel culture. Are you? Because you advocated for arresting anyone who speaks out against Israel. You actually love cancel culture. You even want people arrested if they disagree with you. So now you just don't like cancel culture when it's issues you don't agree with, and if it hurts your bottom line because you were getting paid a lot of money to go appear at college campuses and now you're not. Oh, I'm sorry, is that gonna hurt your multi-million-dollar fortune?
Right.
So he doesn't care about cancel culture as long as you're canceling the people he disagrees with.
The Young Turks highlight what they see as Bill Maher's selective application of cancel culture, pointing out a contradiction in his approach. They claim that Maher backs cancel culture when it supports his beliefs, such as anti-Israel sentiment, yet denounces it when it challenges his personal or political positions. This inconsistency, they argue, reveals a willingness to cancel viewpoints he disagrees with while criticizing others for doing the same. The Young Turks suggest that Maher's stance is less about principle and more about convenience, as he appears to tolerate censorship when it serves his narrative but dismisses it as a societal ill when it opposes his own interests or beliefs.
You could have the right idea on free trade versus fair trade and be a terrible person on other issues, right? So when I see Bill Maher criticizing Donald Trump or the right wing, I totally agree with him. Even when he criticizes some portion of the radical left, I agree with him. But that's not because I'm agreeing with Bill Maher. It's because we both happen to have the same position. I could turn it around and go, Bill Maher is agreeing with me, right? So, and don't be so, like, just because Bill Maher is a closed-minded bigot, you should not return the favor. You shouldn't be like, okay, I'm not listening to anything Bill Maher says anymore, and by definition, he's wrong about everything. No, he could accidentally be right about a lot of things. So you could, guys, we're all at TYT, we're for open hearts and open minds. Now, Bill Maher hates TYT, I presume he's never had any of us on. And by the way, I'll say this part, I never talk about anything that happens behind the scenes in this regard. But they have a policy that you have to kiss Bill Maher's ass to get on. That's a fact.
That's so pathetic.
It is pathetic.
That's so pathetic.
Oh, I believe in journalism. I mean, unless you're criticizing me, you have to kiss my ass. Otherwise, no one is allowed on unless they bow down to Bill Maher, because his ego is so unbelievably out of control, okay? And his mind is totally closed to all Palestinians, all Muslims. His mind is closed in every way. So yeah, he sounds like a guy who's saying, hey, the kids, get off my lawn. That doesn't mean that he can't be right about some things. So that's why we have open minds and we go, okay, that one makes sense, that one makes sense, the others don't make sense. Oh, and that one is just horrific. And that's what you should do with any person, whether it's Bill Maher or anyone else.
The Young Turk segment ends with an uncompromising critique of Bill Maher's character, casting him as ego-driven and entrenched in media elitism. They portray Maher as a figure who, despite championing himself as an advocate for free thought and open dialogue, remains close-minded and dismissive, particularly regarding sensitive topics like Palestine and leftist movements in the US. According to their view, Maher's opinions reflect a bias against progressive causes, framing him as someone who uses his platform to belittle or dismiss views he deems unworthy, rather than engaging with them thoughtfully. This portrayal emphasizes a disconnect between Maher's self-image as a contrarian truth teller and what the Young Turks see as his reality. A media figure more interested in preserving his influence than fostering genuine debate. Thanks for watching.